All right, we have a new mental health article titled What It Takes to Heal After Heartbreak. This is by Julian Wilson. Let us begin. Therapists share what to do and what not to do when going through a breakup. Romantic breakups are tough, and they're one of the rare things in life that don't get easier the more you experience them. Your called-off engagement isn't going to be any easier than your high school breakup, however older and wiser you might be. Therapists say romantic breakups poses several unique qualities that make them especially challenging. It's hard to let go of relationships. It's the nostalgia, the memories, the plans I had with that person, the romanticism that I had about that person, said Denise Brady, a licensed marriage and family therapist based in California. Letting go is really hard for people, Brady said. People desire and need human connection even more than I think prior to the pandemic. Additionally, you may find that your relationship was your identity. The status of being a girlfriend, a boyfriend, fiance, wife, or husband may have been something that was a huge part of you, and now suddenly isn't. Aldwin Tart, a faith-based clinical psychiatrist based in Georgia, said breakups are a form of grief. Someone we're emotionally connected to has left us, or we've left them because we realized that it had no future, or whatever the reason may be, Tart said. A lot of times we think of grief and loss when we think about the death of a person. We don't think about grief and loss when it comes to a relationship. All of this combines to create a tough situation where you might be feeling lost, upset, less confident, and unsure of what your future holds. Healing after heartbreak can feel impossible, but therapists say it's not. In fact, there are things you could do to make the process better. Here's some therapist-backed advice for healing. Number 1, set a date for when you want to feel better. Believe it or not, you want to set a date for healing, Tart said. This is an uncommon thought when it comes to emotional healing. It's generally more tied to physical healing, but it's just as important, Tart noted. Setting a date for recovery allows you to pace your progress and plan your recovery, he said. If you tell yourself you want to feel better in 3 months, you'll allow yourself to go through a 3-month healing period. And when the 3 months are up, you'll be more inclined to let yourself move on. When doing this, you'll actually be able to frame grief in terms of recovery versus this being permanent, Tart said. During your designated healing time, Tart recommends taking part in counseling. Community support is also crucial, he said. Tart adds that the Bible says plans fail for lack of counsel, but with many advisors they succeed. The practical application to this is when we're alone, we only hear ourselves think. But when we have wise counsel, the perspective of other people, we can be healed. Then we can have input and support as to how to move forward. Number 2, but be sure the date you set is realistic. There is no rush to get over a breakup, Brady emphasized. So if you do decide to set a date for your recovery, make sure it's a realistic goal. It's important that you allow yourself ample time to get over your ex, and that timeline will vary from person to person. Just because other people may be over their relationships quicker, take your time and be patient with yourself, Brady said. Give yourself some grace. In other words, don't expect to feel totally healed after just a month, if you know that isn't how long your healing tends to go. It's okay to need time to get over an ex, and it could be detrimental to push it along too fast. Number 3, don't be afraid to talk about your emotions. One of the biggest mistakes that we can make is we try to go through heartbreak or pain alone, which keeps the pain inside, Tart said. We don't have an outlet to be able to vent, which means that all of that emotion, pain stays inside, which usually leads to physical complaints and sleep problems. It could also lead to headaches. It could lead to irritable moods. So as you heal, it's important to talk with your friends, family, and or your therapist about emotions you're dealing with. Not talking to someone about what you're going through robs you of the perspective of, first of all, hearing yourself processing it, but also getting reliable feedback on whether you're processing the heartbreak or not, Tart said. For example, your loved ones will ideally be able to tell you if you're putting unfair blame on yourself. But if you don't share your thoughts with people around you, you won't have that feedback. Number 3, sit with your pain. I know it's challenging, but sometimes you have to sit in that pain to heal from it, Brady said. You shouldn't try to avoid your pain by shoving it down, distracting yourself, or resorting to escapism. Instead, Brady said, you should ask yourself, what am I feeling right now? What is my body trying to tell me? What are my emotions telling me? If your emotions are telling you to cry, then cry. If your body is craving community, seek that out. It's even necessary to sit with your pain for your future self. You want to sit with it and heal through it so it does not come up in the other ways, like your friendships and just your regular everyday connection with people and your next relationship, Brady said. You don't want those triggers or that hurt to come up in other areas of your life. People think they have control over their pain and their trauma, she went on. Oftentimes, they don't. They don't realize how much that unhealed hurt comes up in so many areas of their lives. Brady recommends journaling as one way to sit with your pain. Putting thoughts on paper can help you release them, Brady said. Additionally, doing body scans, noticing if your stomach is in knots or your head hurts or your hands are tense, can be a helpful way to understand how your body is managing the heartbreak. Number 5, avoid the 3 P's. According to Tart, there are 3 P's you should fully avoid when going through a breakup, and they're based on the research of Dr. Martin Seligman, Director of Positive Psychology Center at the University of Pennsylvania. 1 is personalization, and this is where we personalize the breakup, Tart said. Beliefs like, I'll never get the guy, I'll always ruin things with girls, I'm never good enough, are examples of this thought pattern. The problem with that is we can't change who we are unless we're intentional about it. But we're saying, because of who I am, I'm doomed, Tart said. Then, inevitably, we make every relationship we get into end the same way. We have to be very aware of that negative thinking. The second P is pervasive. That means the pervasive beliefs that can create negative thought patterns in relationships. There are ideas like men aren't loyal or women can't commit, Tart said. And so we generalize a relationship with one person to an entire gender. Even if you're dating a same-sex partner, we only meet people's representatives, Tart said. So you have to be aware of that pervasiveness. The final P is permanence. This refers to thought patterns like, this will always be. I'll never be married. I'll never be able to pick the right partner. I'll never be able to win at love. I'll never be able to have the love that all of my parents and friends have. To combat this, Tart recommends that you work on the things that are limiting you, whether that's being more faithful, learning to be a better evaluator of who you date, dating more people so you can evaluate what you want, setting better boundaries in a relationship. And it's important to remember that this is just one moment in time. You can still find love in the future, Tart said. You have to kiss some frogs before you find Mr. or Mrs. Right. Number 6, do not check on your ex's social media. Try not to look at your ex's stories or Instagram posts because they will get you sucked in and make you probably feel worse, Brady said. Most people only document the highlights on social media, nights out with friends, impressive meals, vacations, which can make it seem like their lives are perfect or at least more exciting and glamorous than they are. In fact, happy images and videos on your ex's social media could lead you to believe that they're moving on and having a good time as you sit at home, heartbroken and crying. Brady adds, I think social media can suck you in and lead you to feeling more heartbroken and more in pain. Number 7, know that some people are happier single than in a relationship, and that should be normalized. You want to be in 2 categories. You either want to be happily single or you want to be happily married, right? Tart said. Because there are 2 other categories we all want to avoid: unhappily single or unhappily married. According to Tart, happily single folks and happily married folks have one thing in common. They have a robust set of people to do life with. Someone to have adventures with, someone to have deep conversations with, someone to go to church with, he said. Someone just to have fun, someone that can enjoy some of the things that they like to do. So therefore, they're happy in relationships, not just romantic relationships. Tart explains, and I quote, "What I want to do is, I want to take the stress off making people feel incomplete or feeling like they failed or like they did not have a full and rich life if they did not have a romantic relationship that ends in marriage or long-term commitment. There are plenty of people out there who are extremely happy, but they have relationships and social support in forms other than a romantic involvement. So, if you're going through the aftermath of a breakup, focus on your social connections, the habits that make you happy, and the activities that make you feel your best. Not only will that help you heal from a tough breakup, it will also help you set up a fulfilling life." And that right there is the end of the article. If you would like to hear more, go on my YouTube page, Smitty'Wit Martial Artist, go to the playlist and look for more mental health tips and articles and reads and audio blogs just like this. I'll catch you guys on the next one.